Welcome to Reality of the Rose with your host, Natalie Sprink.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 213 of Reality of the Rose. I'm your host, Natalie Sprink. Hi, I'm back. After a couple weeks, I'm actually really so happy to be back. I feel bad because I was only going to skip a week while Tim and I were on vacation. And then this week happened, and every night that I anticipated recording, it just got too late and I didn't have time. And then I was like, you know what? Like the next Traitors is going to be on Thursday night. So I might as well just wait until that comes out so I can watch that. And then also Love is Blind came out, and that next set of episodes dropped as well. So I thought I might as well just wait till this weekend and record and just put out a fresh, brand new podcast, so there's nothing like completely dated. And yeah, so here I am. And I know this week coming up for me is going to be really busy as well. So here we are. Man, so much has happened. I could make this be a 2-hour podcast, not only in the reality world, but in Natalie's reality. It just, a lot has happened. We've been on vacation. We've been out west. We've done so many things there. I could talk about that a little bit. I probably will just skim over that because, there's so much to cover. There's so much reality TV. There's the Olympics. There's Nancy Guthrie. There's so much. I probably won't get to it all, but I got to start somewhere, right? So thank you for joining me. I'm going to cover some of Natalie, that's me, Natalie, Natalie's reality world first, and then we're going to jump to reality shows. If you're not following my TikTok, I've had a TikTok for a while, but I haven't really been consistent on posting on it, and it depended what was on TV. I started kind of posting about just like my thoughts on reality shows. Typically, I started it more around the Golden Bachelor time, and then I didn't post for a long time. And so lately, I've just been posting nothing about reality TV. Maybe here and there, just small things, but I've mostly been posting just sort of like random thoughts, like, does anybody else this and this and this and this, or like, don't you hate it when you're opening a box of cereal and the stupid bag on the inside will not open? How is it 2026 and we have AI, but we can't figure out a freaking bag that opens in a cereal bag that doesn't rip the whole things to shred and you got cereal everywhere? Like, what is happening? Stuff like that. So what I decided to do is just do that. And I feel like I've gotten a decent response with that. And, some of it is covering like problems of like my era, women's problems of my era, maybe, like menopause and things like that. But then other things are just random things that anyone may be able to relate to. So what I've decided to do is sort of go over some of the ones that have gotten the most interaction that I posted here on the podcast, and talk about it maybe a little bit more in length. And then jump into some reality TV. So, and some of them kind of relate to my highs and lows. I will start here. I was going to, not that you would know this or not, but just FYI, I was going to start recording a lot earlier in the day. However, I let Max, our dog, in case you don't know, yellow lab, let Max out to pee. We always do that. We let him out, I close the door, and he's fine. He comes back. Sometimes it takes longer than others because he just likes to sniff around and be nosy. I'm sure those of you with a dog can relate. Like, just come in, just pee and come in, please. Especially here in the winter in Wisconsin. So I did that as normal, and he didn't come back. And he didn't come back, and he didn't come back. And if you know where we are, we're kind of rural. We live in like a neighborhood, but it's like a rural neighborhood, if so to speak, and we live on a lake. So, we have neighbors, but I just can't explain it. But like, he always runs to this one spot where deer are. Anyway, and so like he's been gone for like 10 minutes at a time, but usually he's nosing around and like whatever. But he didn't come back after 10. That was 15 minutes. So then we got in the car and drove around. This is my thorn. Anyway, Max was gone for like 2 hours. And I was starting to get really upset and scared because it's cold here. It's not like record colds or anything. It's like normal cold. But if he wasn't going to come back tonight, it's supposed to get in the single digits. And I knew that that was not going to be good. And so I was getting kind of panicked. So this is my thorn. However, came back in. So me and Tyler went and drove around for a while, drove up and down the road, calling his name, whistling, doing all the things that typically Max comes running to. And we got back home, and Tim was like, I mean, I don't know what else to do except we just wait, or we like literally follow his tracks and see where they lead. Because again, there's snow in the ground. So here we can like follow his tracks. Don't I sound like I'm an adventurer and, like on Survivor or something? I'm gonna track him by his tracks. Like, I was like, I don't know how to do that. Anyway, so I was downstairs getting on all my winter attire. I called a couple people I know locally and just said, keep your eye out. But anyway, I was completely fully dressed in all my winter attire to go out trompsing through the snow. Trompsing is a word. And, I was just about to open the door to go outside. Here comes Max running up to the door, like, "Oh, hey, what's going on? Hey, I'm here. Look at me." Like all happy. And then that's so hard. If this has happened to you, but like you want to be so mad at him and go, "God damn it, what are you doing?" Like be so mad, but you're so happy and relieved that to find him and that he's home and that he's not dead and that he's not run over by a car and he's not frozen or stuck under something. Like, oh, it was just like such a relief. So I went with like this sort of reaction when I saw him. "Maxie, that is not a good boy. Oh, you're such a good boy. You're such a good boy." It was something like that. So completely conflicting. He like hung his head and then he was like, "Oh yeah, you're happy to see me." So I don't know. But yeah, so that was actually kind of my thorn and my rose all at the same time, right? So yes, that just happened. So it made me late recording, but now I'm so relieved and happy because I was like, damn, am I not going to be able to record again today? Because I felt like, I can't record and be in like a happy, fun mood on my podcast while my dog is missing. But anyway, he's back and safe and sound. And so here I am. All right. So that is where I'm going to start with my, okay. So I'm just going to kind of go down the line with some of my TikTok topics. The first one was, this one probably got the best response this week, is the fact that, I hear so often from other people I know, and I'm in conversation with people that'll say like, "Oh yeah, this winter, even if it's a weekend, I don't have anything going on this weekend." Or like even like this winter, it's going to be winter here and it's a long winter, so I have to find myself a project. I think I'm going to repaint all the walls in my house, or I'm going to plant a little, I don't know, herb garden in my house, or I'm going to, make photo albums for all of my family members. I don't, I people that have to have a project, like to keep themselves from being bored or to keep, they can't stand having idle hands or just, sitting there watching TV or reading a book or not doing anything. And I'm like, I try to act like, yeah, I know what you mean, but actually I can't relate at all. I can't relate. I don't have any desire to paint the walls or to remodel my kitchen, or to retile my shower, or to, I don't know, whatever. Like I said, paint the walls or learn how to paint myself, like I don't have that desire. And so often I want to fool myself and think that, like, yeah, oh, yeah, you can do that. Like cleaning out your jewelry drawer, that's kind of a project. Like, so yeah, but no, it's not. And I feel like sometimes I do that just because, like, I feel like I should have a project. Everybody else does, but I don't, but I really don't. I'm totally fine all winter long. If like, I mean, granted, don't get me wrong. Like, I don't have a trashy house, and like, I'm very routine, and that like every Saturday is when I clean my house and do my laundry. Like, so I do all those things. Like, I cooked supper every night for my family, even though I have no desire to cook whatsoever. I do it. I work, I have a full-time job. I work all day long. So I know I'm not lazy, but like, when other people are telling me all these like little projects and hobbies they have, and I do this and I do that, and I feel guilty for wanting to, but I don't. I am totally fine after I get done cleaning my kitchen after supper, sitting my ass on the couch and watching TV. This weekend, we had nothing planned whatsoever. Some people would have been like, oh my God, it was so boring all weekend. So I had to, like, you know, remove the paneling from my wall and drywall it and then paint it. And it looks so cute. No, that is not me. I can sleep in, I can get up, I can start my laundry, I can clean my house and maybe pay some bills. And if I'm done with that and I sit my ass on the couch the rest of the day and like read a book, or me, probably binge watch some reality show, which is what I did. So I like have no problem with that whatsoever. I don't. And I always wonder how many people are actually more like me than the project people. But the response on TikTok was so funny because, I mean, at least for me and my following, I got a lot of responses, and they all were, oh, same girl. Like, I don't understand those people either. And same, 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 same. I think I had like one person that was like, that's crazy. But I think the comment was something like, idle hands lead to devil's actions, or whatever that phrase is. I don't know. And I was like, no, I'm not like, because I'm bored, I'm not out becoming a serial killer. I'm fine. I am not being, having whatever she said. But I just thought it was comical. It actually made me feel so much better that I am not like quite this lazy. So yeah, that's like the first little reality in my life that I figure, why not just, I am who I am. I can't make myself be this, crafty, no idle hands type person. Maybe someday. And I feel like it's maybe gotten worse as I've gotten older, and maybe that's natural. But so there you go. So the second thing that I posted about this week was, and this is probably more relatable to those of you who are getting older, but it is the fact that I can tell very obviously, well, obviously my eyes, but also my ears are aging. And it's these things that are so odd to me to like have witnessed with like my grandparents or my parents with their aging, and then all of a sudden start experiencing them myself. Now my eyes, that's been happening since I've been 40. I've always had good vision, but I don't, it's like reader type stuff. But the thing with my ears is the part that I've noticed a lot in the past, I don't know, like 2, 3, 4 years. But it's like when I am in an atmosphere where there is a lot of people, and there's a lot of like conversation chatter around me, or like even like music. It doesn't even have to be loud. I mean, loud music is really bad, but it's even just music in the background, but there's a lot of conversation around me, and I'm trying to have a conversation with someone. I used to be really good at it, and could totally carry on a conversation in a loud atmosphere. And I just can't do it anymore. Like, I'm that person who will say what like two times, and then I just pretend that I heard what they say, and I completely don't. And I'm probably like answering to absolutely some random question that needs an answer, and I'm saying, oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I try really hard to read lips, but I've always been horrible at reading lips and I just can't do it. And I know I'm just staring at their lips trying to figure out what they're saying and getting, even if I can like 2 or 3 words, maybe I can come up with some kind of little comeback answer that makes sense to what they're saying. But then that stresses me out having to have a conversation in that atmosphere. It just stresses me out and I just want to leave. On top of the fact that I think I'm becoming more introverted anyway, and I don't need to be around a lot of people and do like massively social things every single weekend. I'm doing nothing on my couch, but I hate that, and it's just a really like it's not stressful, but it has just made me sort of choosy and picky about the things that I do. Like if we have to go to a wedding, that's fine. But then like if I'm at a wedding or something like that, I am fine with just kind of sitting there. I don't have to be the social butterfly, going all around and talking to everybody. And, I don't know. It's just like a funny thing that I have realized as I'm getting older and older. And I know I should probably like actually have my hearing checked. Like I don't think it's that bad. Like at night, I maybe that's not the same thing, but like it doesn't take me much of anything to like hear something little at night. I don't know. But anyway, that was another little TikTok topic that I got on. The other one, these are all completely unrelated. Another one was, so we took our trip last week, Tim and I on vacation, and just like a short little review of what we did. We went to Yellowstone first. So this is obviously winter. But it is amazing what we realized that out west, like in general, and I'm talking like Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Colorado, like that area is so low on snow. It's wild. Even after this big storm came through, like whenever it was a month ago, like the Midwest and out east, and everybody got pounded with either ice or snow, that did not happen out west, or hasn't happened really. And like, so two things, we went on this, it was called a snow cruiser. So it was like this little tour bus, but had these big gigantic wheels, and it just drove through Yellowstone. Like obviously Yellowstone isn't open to traffic this time of year, but like these snow cruisers go on, the same routes that you just drive in the summer, or you can do snowmobiling, but we did a snow cruiser. And so it takes you to kind of like all the, like the spots that you can kind of get to, and you get to see them with snow on them and everything. And that's cool. And there was snow, but like so little of it in the, like the lower elevation parts, you could completely see grass standing up. The snow was just basically covering the ground and that's it, which is not the case usually. And then up high in the higher elevations, I mean, obviously there was a decent amount more snow, but nothing like, they told us that they're 70 inches below 70, like 70 inches below what they normally are. So that was crazy. And then we went down to Jackson Hole, stayed there for a couple days, and they have this big national elk refuge where in the winter, this started like 100 years ago or something, and the elk come down from up high to feed, and they always have, but like because it was lower elevations, and obviously there's usually less snow, and they could at least have better access to like grass and things. And so whatever, over the years though, there wasn't even enough grass and a lot of elk died. And so the people that sort of settled that area started feeding them like hay and other stuff. I think it was hay. It was something like that. And they started feeding them, and then that became a thing. And so now like thousands and thousands of elk come down and feed in the winters. And so they do this thing where they take you on a horse-drawn sleigh ride, like out to see the elk in the fields, which is really cool. So we signed up to do that. Well, there's so little snow that we couldn't take a sleigh. We had to take a horse-drawn wagon instead of a sled. So there's so little snow there. Tim and I rode the gondola up the main ski hill right in Jackson Hole. And there was like little trees and grass sticking up from the snow the whole way up to the top of the mountain. But it's wild. And like, there's like, everyone's talking about it out there about how little snow. We met a couple from Colorado and they said it's the same way in Colorado. Then we went to our house in Idaho, and actually there was a little bit more snow in Idaho, but still like way, way, way below what they normally are. There's a ski hill close to our place and it's open, and the ski hills are all open out there, but they're having to, I guess, make a lot more snow than they typically do. And it's just really not good ski conditions, I guess. I don't ski, so I don't know. But yeah, anyway. Uh, but point of that whole thing was that, so my TikTok post was about unpacking. So like, are you the type to come home and like immediately unpack? Or is it that you absolutely despise unpacking and will put it off as long as you possibly can? This is a place where Tim and I are totally the same. Like, there's a lot of areas where we're not the same at all. We're very different, but we are the same in this respect. And we both like can't wait to unpack and just get that over with. It's just like, it's not that I like to unpack. I don't necessarily like it, but it is one thing that I will not procrastinate on. And I mean, we had not been home and in the house with our vehicle unloaded for more than 5 minutes. And we're both like, let's go unpack. Totally take the suitcase upstairs, totally unpack everything, put the actual, like, not just like unpack the suitcase and lay it on my bed, but like put the clothes away, put the clothes in the laundry. I might even start a load of laundry, but for sure, just put them in the hamper, put all of my toiletries completely away, like it all, take the suitcase, empty suitcase, put the empty suitcase where it's supposed to go, like the whole thing. That's what I do every single time. I can't stand having that packed suitcase sitting in my room. That gives me anxiety. Like, I mean, relatively speaking, that I can't handle. So that is me. I can't stand it. Like, I know at least like Allie and Tyler are the opposite. Tyler will probably have his packed bag in his room for weeks until it's empty or something. And Allie knowingly hates to unpack too. So I don't know if that's hereditary, if that's just a personal thing. Probably not. It's probably not hereditary. But yeah, that's me. I can't wait to unpack my shit. Can't wait. Oh yes, this one also is going to be for us a little bit older and probably mainly, I would say, women. But this is another TikTok that went over really, really well. And it was, I was listening to the radio. Yes, like the radio, the old fashioned radio or I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago. And it was like a 70s station, I believe, 70s, early 80s. And they played, uh, okay, I'm going to sing it. I have a terrible voice, but it was like that song, have to believe we are magic. Nothing can stand in our way. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, God, I am so bad. I hope you could recognize that song, possibly, but I was like, oh my God, I have not heard that song, I swear, in 30 years. But if you know, you know, but I'll just tell you in case you don't know, that song is from the movie Xanadu. Who remembers Xanadu? I loved Xanadu. Honestly, I'd completely forgotten about Xanadu until I heard that song, and it just took me back. I swear to you, that was one of my favorite movies of all time. I As soon as I heard the song, I like went into like mode of like, where could I watch that again? Now that being said, that was something that like went through my head in the moment and I haven't done it again. But on that TikTok, actually, someone told me that I can find it on Prime. But I had so many responses from people that were like, oh my God, I love Xanadu. I watch Xanadu all the time. I have the like DVD and I watch it all the time. I bought it on Prime Video. I watch it all the time. I love it. Is like the best soundtrack. Again, maybe you had to like experience it back when it came out. It came out in 1980. I vividly remember watching it in the theater. Obviously, that's where that's the only place you could watch movies back then. But I remember seeing that movie in the theater. I believe I saw it more than once, but it was a roller skating movie. You don't need to know the plot or anything, but it was a roller skating movie. and it was like kind of like a love story, but it was like a fantasy kind of. It's hard to explain. It doesn't really matter. Just take my word for it, because roller skating was huge back then. I was this huge roller skating fan, and not, we didn't have rollerblades. It was actually roller skating. Olivia Newton-John starred in it. Gene Kelly. It was Gene Kelly's very last movie that he made, and then I don't know the male younger star in it. I don't know who is. I think he was kind of like a one hit wonder, but oh my God, it was so good. And I loved roller skating. And I remember I had this pink satin jacket that had like a roller skate on the back that's Xanadu. I, oh, it was so good. But the soundtrack is so, so, so good. It was really a big soundtrack back then. Like, honestly, like most of the songs, um, and they were mostly, and obviously back then I had the record. I can like picture it in my head now. And when I went and played the soundtrack from Apple Music, like I remembered every single song. It like, do you remember like Xanadu, Xanadu? Now we are here in Xanadu. Oh God! So I like just want to take some of you back who have ever like, if you remember Xanadu, or if you were, and Olivia Newton-John was like in her prime then, and she just had like, I loved her too. Obviously, she was on Grease with um, John Travolta, but she also was on this movie called Twist of Fate. It's gotta be a strange twist of fate, telling you that heaven can wait. Oh God, I want to watch all those movies at one time. But so fun. So I just taken some of you back that might remember Xanadu. Like you know what I actually did? I actually went on Etsy and looked for a cool Xanadu t-shirt, and it should be here any day. So I did that. Then another one. No, this isn't one. So that was it. Okay, there's my TikTok. I wrote these down. I'm looking at my list. I actually did do a TikTok on this topic too, but that is before we get into actual reality TV. Is the Olympics are on now, and I feel like you are either, maybe this is obvious, but maybe you are totally into the Olympics and are like watching it every night, or you just like have no idea what's going on in the Olympics. Maybe there's an in between, but like I'm the one who leading up to the Olympics is saying like, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'll watch a couple nights and see if I get into it. Well, yeah, I do that, but then I totally get into it, and I completely invested. And it started the week that Tim and I were out west, and so we would sit down, and he was into it too. So we would sit down and watch that like every single night is what we would watch as the Olympics. And so yeah, it's about to end. I guess, I won't really talk about it a lot, but the really, really cool thing, and so I'm recording this on Sunday, and is that the USA, we watched live the USA men's hockey team beat Canada, and it was in overtime. And it was so, so exciting and so, 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 so fun to watch. They're like celebrating after it happened, because the men's Olympics haven't won since 1980, since that dream team, like from the movie Miracle. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they hadn't won since then. And so I'm getting goosebumps. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. But like they were just like so happy and so excited. And I don't know the name of the guy. I should, sorry, but like it's the guy who like him and two of his brothers like all play in the NHL, and actually two of the brothers played on Team USA together, but the one of them got like high sticked in the third period, I believe, in the mouth, and it actually knocked two of his teeth out, and he picked his teeth up off the ice and took them to the bench and then went out and kept playing. And so like as he's celebrating, he's like got this bloody mouth. It was like wild. These guys are so tough. I just admire hockey players so much. I think they do not get enough credit, but it was just so fun and exciting. And I guess, and there's another guy, Grudeau, maybe is his last name. And I guess he and his brother, and you may remember this, it's vaguely familiar to me, but in 2024, he and his brother were, I think, riding bikes, and a drunk driver hit them, and I think killed them both, if I'm not mistaken. But he was on Team USA and would have been on Team USA. And so they had like a jersey made up for him that they were like skating around. And then when they took their big mass picture after they all had their gold medals on, his wife was there and his parents and everybody, but they had, I, I want to say she was pregnant when this happened to them, but they had two kids. And so they went and got their two kids and had the two kids with the jersey by them. Oh, it was so cute in the picture. I totally have goosebumps right now. But it was so cute. So yeah, the figure skating I've been like really into. So we had, the whole debacle and the what do I want to say? I don't want to say the disappointing routine of Ilya. Shit, the quad god, who everyone was expecting him to win gold, and then he like fell or didn't perform one of his jumps, one of his quads, and ended up not even medaling, and like that was really sad. And then we had the women's who we had, is it Alyssa who won, who has the striped hair, and like her new outlook on life of just not like being like, I don't give a shit. Like she retired at 16 or some damn thing, which I think is so funny. Like, oh, I retired at 16 and then came back. And she's like 20 now. So, but she like, I should laugh. I know that's a thing, but it just sounds so funny. But came back with this attitude of like, kind of like, I don't give a shit. Like if I don't win gold, if I get 20th, cool. I'm just here, and maybe it works because she won gold. But then we had the little poor Amber girl who like was, I guess, expected at least get a medal, and she messed up her routine and was so sad and crying and crying and crying. But the cool part about that was that right after her performance, she did it to like a prayer. It was those short performance, short. I don't know the correct terminology. I should, because I'm watching the Olympics. But Madonna, she did it to Madonna's like a prayer. And after her routine, like very shortly after, Madonna sent her a video message that was basically like, I was so honored basically that you picked my song. I thought you did amazing. I can't believe you didn't, get a higher, I don't know exactly, this is paraphrasing obviously, but I just want you to know that you were so enjoyable to watch, and I thought you did amazing, and I want you to go out there and not give up and still go for the gold, and blah 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 blah. And they had her reaction watching it, and she was like, oh my god, like I feel like that would have been like winning a gold medal for me. So that was cool. And I don't know, I've like enjoyed watching the really all of it. I've even watched some curling, and I know shit about curling. It's so fascinating to me though, but also like the half pipe stuff. I always think that is so cool, and it amazes me. All these like the jumping. I don't know exactly what they call it, but where they ski down, they jump up and then land. Like, how do you like start learning that? Like, I mean, you have to, for the first time, go and jump off that cliff thing, whatever the hell, that ramp. How do you, and also like the half pipe, how do you first like jump up and twirl around and land? Do you just like break your leg 15 times before you actually succeed at it? Like that shit blows my mind. I don't, I just want to sit on my couch, like I said, and watch, Love is Blind. So I don't know how they do it. I admire all these people, like, because these sports are their life, and man, do you have to love this shit to be this good at it. So it's so cool. So yeah, that's Olympics. All right. I am now moving into my reality TV portion of the podcast. This is hard. Okay, I'm going to quickly go over some Bravo shows. Just do the little highlights of what's going on right now, and then I'm going to finish with the Traitors and Love is Blind. Okay, so first we have Real Housewives of Potomac. That is in the reunion now. We had I believe it's only been part one. Well, actually, part two would be tonight. It's Sunday night. And we had them addressing Wendy and her husband. Every time I just like say her husband and don't say his name, it's because I can't remember offhand. Eddie. And they had this big scandal where they did this big insurance fraud thing and they got busted and they were sent to jail for a night or whatever. But she is at the reunion and they cover that a little bit. Um, it's like an odd thing because I just want someone to say, and I guess she probably can't discuss it maybe, but like I just want someone to ask the question and her to say, I can't discuss it. But no one even is like, did you actually do this? Did you actually commit insurance fraud and you did this and this and this and acted like they basically acted like they were robbed, their house was robbed, but they think they set that whole thing up and then sold the shit to get money, but also got reimbursed from insurance when the stuff really wasn't stolen. And so I want someone to say, did you guys do this? Like, and if so, why? You know? And I know she'd probably say I can't talk about it, but I want someone to be like, are you like taking accountability? So, but they're not really doing that. They're just like asking how their family is and how the kids are and like, I don't know. It's strange. And I don't wish I want to know, like, did you do this? Because they're not flat out denying it, but they're not admitting it. And again, I know they can't, but whatever. So that's a topic now. Um, I can't decide my stance on Stacy because all the women went really hard at her about a lot of different things this season. But there's like, and I get why, but there's a part of me that loves her and thinks that she is so entertaining and kind of really, makes for some um, dramatic episodes for the show and makes it entertaining to watch. It's those things. Like, I know when people are like, "Oh, I hate the drama, so I never watch those kinds of shows." I'm like, what do you really mean by that? Why do you really hate the drama? Because really, why else would you watch that show? You obviously have to have some drama. That's what brings people to watch the show. I just think it's kind of ridiculous when people say, "Oh, I hate drama." So if you hate drama, then and because of that you don't watch the show, then that's fine. Then I get that. But like if you're like, "Oh, I wish they wouldn't have so much drama on those shows," but you watch them, that's what you're watching it for, is the drama. Don't get me wrong. Like, for sure. I watch it for like the clothes and just like to like live in that world, to be like, oh wow, what would it be like to like be able to go on vacations and be able to have, Hermes bags and be able to just like dress like you do and all those things. But like, I'm not, I admit, obviously the drama is what makes it interesting. So whatever. Okay. So then we have Southern Charm, which is currently on. And I believe that finale is coming up this week. And so kind of the big topics of this week, I mean, of this season have been Craig and Sally first going after Craig, but then Craig kind of turning her down and being more into her friend Charlie. And then we have now Sally like hardcore going after Austin, who had a girlfriend at the beginning of the season, but then they broke up. And now I, I really like Sally. Sally was actually on Clayton Echard's, and I've talked about her before, but I'm sure you don't remember Clayton Echard's season of The Bachelor, where if you watch that season, the very first night, she was supposed to be one of the girls, but she called him into her room. Like, I think this is right before all the limo entrances, or right after. I think it was before. And she was like, "Look, I'm supposed to be on your show, but I don't think I'm going to because like I just got broken up with. I was engaged to a guy and I just actually changed my mind and I don't think like I really want to be here." And he was like, "Oh, I'd really like you to stay. I'd really like you to stay." And she's like, "No, I just can't," or whatever. We all thought she was going to show up a couple weeks later and she never did. However, she did show up on Bachelor in Paradise like that next season for a while and then went home. So anyway, she's like a Bachelor girl. So, but she's on Southern Charm now. And I just sort of like her. I think she's gorgeous and I kind of like her personality. She's a uh she's a surgery nurse, I believe. But like the way she's been going so hard at Austin this season makes me not like her, because she's one of those like look at me girls a little bit. And so like they were like, say this for instance, where I can't remember if this is the exact scenario, but they were riding in a little shuttle bus or whatever they call those buses to like a restaurant or something. And someone wanted to, like, was teasing Austin that he needed to unbutton his shirt more. And so he was, and she was sitting in the row in front of them. And so he like unbuttoned another button or something. And she was like, and like looked real quick, looked back to see him unbutton his shirt. And then whoever was sitting next to her, she was like, oh, I thought maybe he was going to take off his shirt. Like, but said it loud enough that she knew Austin could hear him. And like, all like weird comments like that. I mean, it feels to me like eighth grade. And or like they saw some statue of a guy that was like real hot. She was like, oh, that's you, Austin, and like super blatant flirting where it almost makes you uncomfortable and everyone else uncomfortable watching it, including me. So I don't really love that. Like, act like want to be chased a little bit. I don't know. I just have been turned off by her. So anyway, that's Southern Charm. Oh, and Madison, who is like one of those originals from the show, is having her baby. She's like pregnant, having her baby. So she hasn't been on that much this season, but a little bit just because she's a core part of it. Then we have Summer House, which is only on its like third episode. Paige is not on this year, and they have brought in about 4 new people. They did this last year too, but neither one of them are on again. I really like actually these 4 people. I think that they're really going to be good additions to the show. I wasn't a big fan of the 2 last season, which obviously I guess no one was. There was a whole lot of thing that went on last season. I'm not going to go over that, which is why the girl's not on. But anyway, really liking that show. Kyle and Amanda, that's kind of the big storyline this season because Kyle and Amanda have been married, I think, for like 6 years. Kyle's an original on Summer House. Amanda's been on for a really long time, but we know like in real time that they are separated now. I don't know for sure if they filed for divorce or not, but they're definitely separated, living apart. And but so they're really concentrating hardcore. So obviously this was filmed ahead of time and they're still married and everything now, but they're having major issues and they're really focusing on that this season. So you're kind of like watching the demise and the end of their relationship. But the ironic part is that they both are also going to be starring in a new Bravo show called In the City. So a lot of these older castmates or whatever cast of Summer House, they're starting to be older, like close to 40, late 30s. And so like, should they really be in this big party era now? But like also, what's her name? Who had the baby? Her and Carl. Whatever. If you know, you know. But she's on it still too. She's had her baby. And but again, like they're starting this new show called In the City. So she's on it. I know that Kyle and Amanda are both on it too. I don't know who else is really going to be on it. People are speculating who, like that maybe Carl's going to be in it too. I can't think of her name, but so I'm really anxious to see that because it's going to be like basically like them. Because they all live in New York City and Summer House is them always in the Hamptons during the summertime at this house in the Hamptons. And you would see a little tiny bit of their life in New York City, but like not a lot. And so that's what this show is going to be about, is them living in the city and their day-to-day life in the city, which I'm really, really, really anxious for. I believe it's coming out in March or April. But anyway, so I'm curious to see how that lines up with the breakup of Kyle and Amanda too. So that's that. Then we have Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, and we also have The Valley Persian Style. I've talked about that show again. I'll just say quickly that I really love that show a lot. I like it way better than the regular Valley. There's 3 of the people that were from Shaws of Sunset, which I never watched on Bravo, but they are coming back from that show, and I love the show. I love the dynamics of the couples. I love how the women dress. I think that men are interesting to watch. Reza, if you reckon, Reza was on a past season of, well, there's 2 Rezas on this Valley Persian Style, but the older Reza, was on Traitors a year, 2 seasons ago, I think. So you might know him from that if you don't watch the show, but he and his partner, I love watching them. They are great TV. They all are. They're all great TV. They're fun to watch. It's like they're friends. They can have drama, but they also like have funny parts. And I don't know, just really love the show. If you're at all a Bravo fan in general, but are like, oh, I'm not going to watch that because I didn't watch Shaws of Sunset, doesn't matter. You will just get pulled in. So that continues to be a really great show. I'm sure they're going to have a limited, they might be having their season finale. Maybe that's the one whose season finale is this week. I know it's either that or Southern Charm. I can't remember because obviously since it's the first season, they're having a little bit of a limited um, season, probably just to test it out. But then we have Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Always love that show. I think it's my favorite. I mean, I do love Salt Lake City too, but I truly love Real Housewives of Beverly Hills really a lot. Love how they dress, love their dynamics, love following them year to year, episode to episode. I mean, season to season. Um, Denise Richards made a reappearance. There's been rumor that she's going to be coming back. But if you remember, she's had this like drama with her husband and they are like getting divorced, but he like has abused her and stuff. And so they're kind of talking about that a little. She's not on the show. She's definitely just like making an appearance right now. I don't know if she's going to be a friend of for the rest of the season, but I love how they're actually, most of them are so honest on this show. Like at this, they had a little dinner with her and Erica Jane and Sutton, and they're like openly talking about the facelifts they had, you know. And to me, like, judge that or not, I don't ever judge it at all. But like they openly talk about that they've had it, which is so refreshing to me because like why speculate and why does it have to be like, oh, I just look this way, I'm naturally look young? Like, no, we all know that doesn't happen. And so she was talking about a facelift she had just had and they were complimenting how good she looked. I wouldn't have been able to tell she had, I thought she looked the same. After they said that, I could see, you know, that like she didn't, like, it was pulled up here. She didn't have a big jowl hanging down like I do here. Also, just to excuse my looks, after I just say it's so refreshing, but I'm just going to say that just to excuse my like absolutely no makeup and awful hair. I didn't shower today and I was going to like put makeup on so I looked more presentable to y'all who watch this, but then I thought, I mean, you don't care, right? If you do, it's too bad. But anyway, so it's like a really good season too. They have this new girl Amanda on, so there's a lot of drama around her because she's like this like quote unquote, I say not quote unquote because I guess she really is like the self-made millionaire, but people are a little bit critical of her because she kind of seems a little bit full of herself and she's all about manifestation, but like she talks about it all the time. And I mean, I get it. Like, I get she's putting herself out there and I can appreciate that. But I also get why some of the women or most of the women are like annoyed by her and the things that she says and how she presents herself and how she puts herself on a pedestal and things. But like, I guess go girl. So yeah, loving that. Okay, so that's Bravo. So let's jump into Traitors first. Okay. And then I'm gonna end on Love is Blind. So first we have I guess, you know, I'll just like briefly, because I haven't talked about 2 episodes so far. So on not this past episode, but the episode before, we have Colton got murdered, and then Candace was voted out in the round table. She was the one banished. I actually was super surprised by this. I did not think Colton would be the one to get murdered. I thought he would continue to stay on this show and kind of like cause like background drama. So I was shocked he got murdered. I thought this was an amazing move though by Colton because Colton and he were an alliance. And so by voting him out, I thought it really took like the heat off of Rob, which I guess was the whole point. Now the whole back and forth between Candace and Rob and how Rob voted Candace out. Obviously we know Candace was a traitor. Again, good move by Rob to take the like any kind of indication off of him that he was possibly a traitor, because Like you wouldn't, it's so weird because you could also use like reverse psychology. And you could be like, oh, well, maybe it is Rob because he would want to take the heat off himself and not make it look like he's a traitor and he would turn on one of his fellow traitors, you know? Like, so it's hard to be, I feel like, in this game because, you know, after more and more seasons are on, you know that they would use like reverse psychology kind of thing. So, but either way, what's crazy is that they are like, I mean, we obviously this most recent episode, there are those who have said Rob's name, but how on this previous episode, everyone is like pulled in by Rob, and absolutely no one thinks he is the traitor. And he has just like gotten the loyalty of everybody. And I just think he's playing the game so good. I've heard those argue that they think he's getting like really cocky about it. But I feel like that's easy to say because we're seeing the edit. And I don't really think that. I don't, I mean, we're seeing him be maybe a little cocky in his interviews, but even that, I don't think so. I think it's like if you like Rob or not. And I love him. I think he is hot, obviously, but I also just love his chill personality. I think he has like the kind of humor that I think is really funny. So I think he's really funny. And I personally think he's playing the game amazing. And obviously he is because no one suspects him at all until the end here. And obviously there's only like what, 6 people left. So it's got to be two of you have to be the traitor from the six left, these 6 people left. So then it's kind of just by order of elimination. Um, but let's see. So they, let me read my notes here. So one of the missions on that episode where teams have to act out a description they get. Oh yeah, they had to act out a description that they get from and their and like they had to like it was like charades and they had to like act something out, and then the 3 people that were chosen were in a room full of paintings and they had to guess which painting they were trying to act, you know, but the people who were acting it were just verbally given the description. I thought this was a really funny mission to watch. Like, who cares about the money they win or anything, or even like who gets the shield and shit like that. I just thought it was so funny to watch this one. I was thinking back, like just the little banter they have back and forth with each other and like things they say. I just get such a kick out of like seeing their personalities come out in these kind of missions. It's where like whenever they're talking strategy, you can't really like get their personalities. It's in these missions that you get to see their personalities. I thought it was really funny. But then also Candace coming for Rob at the round table. This is like where she gets so pissed at him. And this is, I think, also the episode where he is like says to Candace, like, Candace, like, you know, this is a game, right? Like, this is a game, which is so true. Like, why are you get so personally pissed off at people? I guess it's, you know, you're just in this bubble and you start to get competitive and feel like this is your life right now. So I get that what like maybe logically, you know, this is a game, but like when you're so deep into it, you start so taking it personally. But like, it's so true. And I loved how he said it. It's like, you get this as a game, right? But then like this week too, oh, and last week also we had where Tara and Johnny were like admitting that they were actually best friends, which this part I don't get, you know, which is also kind of fun and ironic that they are on the Olympics right now and commentating on the figure skating. And I feel like they had to have picked them for this reason, for this show, right? That this would be airing and then being on at the same time. I feel like that's no accident. Okay. But I love them and I think they're both awful at the game, but I love how they are admitting that they are awful at this game. But what's so weird to me is that like I didn't know it, you know, for sure, but had I gone on this show and known who was on it, I'm always kind of uncertain. Do they know who else is going to be on the show, or do they not know until they show up and they're with the people? But like, let's say they do know, I mean, negate everything I'm about to say if they don't know. But like, if they do know, obviously, wouldn't you research everyone that's going to be on your season to find out like just how they're famous? Because maybe you don't know. Like, maybe you don't watch Survivor and you don't know everybody from Survivor. So wouldn't you know that Tara and Johnny are like best friends because they have a podcast? And I'm sure it wouldn't take much of a Google search to realize they have a podcast together, and that like each of their Instagrams and stuff like that to know that they're like great friends. So them coming like clean, quote unquote, that they both are like so best friends and everything, on top of the fact that they're both ice skaters and were in the Olympics. I just think that it couldn't have been that much of a stretch to know that they probably were pretty close. I don't know. I just think that was so weird that that was maybe going to be like such a shocker to everybody that they were like best friends. But also the way they played it made it so, I don't know. I guess you could have reverse psychologied that too. But when they were admitting that, and when they were like, yeah, but just because you're best friends doesn't mean that Johnny's not a traitor. And she was like, no, I'm just telling you, he's not. I know him so well, and he's not. And that was their sole explanation for the fact that they did, like, either of the two of them weren't traitors because like they were vouching for each other. Like, what? That's not a vouch. Like, that's not legit. And so I was thought that that proved that they probably weren't the traitors, because you have to be a little bit more like schemy and strategizing, and not so like kind of like, oh, ditzy, we're best friends kind of, you know, that they aren't traitors. Like, they're maybe not, I don't want to say smart enough to be traitors, but kind of, you know. I mean, and us watching them self-admittedly being like, I'm so bad at this game, and us knowing they're both faithful. So um I don't know. It has to. It's easy for me to watch and be like, "Duh, they are not the traitors." Um, but so Kristen was the one killed on this most latest episode, and Natalie was the one that was voted out. I also am so happy that Natalie is out. And I know every time I've recapped about this, I talk about this. But I could not stand her. I just thought she was way too serious, and she never was like guessing the right people for this show, and she was getting. I mean, I know a lot of them got serious, but I don't know. I just did not like her personality at all. I also could not stand how I hated her style. Her style was awful. It was terrible. Um and her, like, we get that you have muscles. Like, can you wear something with sleeves just once? Because we get it. We know you're buff. Like, just stop. We understand. I don't know. So glad they got her out. And plus, I feel like everyone else, most everyone else that has gotten banished will be like, and so I'm a traitor. I'm a faithful. Sorry, guys. But she was like legitimately pissed off when she left. Like, I can't believe I'm faithful. And you, ugh. I don't know. She just annoyed the shit out of me. So I'm just period glad that she left. Um, the missions were the one that they were in the like the boxes, and that Eric, now that he's the traitor with Rob, they had to get out of the boxes, and they kept making it seem like the boxes were creaking as they opened them and stuff. Like, obviously that was sound that was added, and they weren't really creaking, because obviously obviously they're not going to do that, because it would be so easy for the people next to them to know that it was the box next to them that was creaking. So like, that gave me anxiety. I didn't like that, but I would have been really pissed if like that was going to be real and the creaking is what gave them away. Surely the show wouldn't like give them away because of that obvious thing that would happen. But like, I'm just telling you, I would have, maybe those boxes were bigger and it wouldn't have been that bad, but I would have gotten such claustrophobia. Oh my God. But then the other one was where they were on in that like little um fair, like little county fair setup, and they had to be on that twirly thing and then get off and go find the money in the stuffed animals, you know. And Tara and Eric, I guess, didn't have to go on it. And do you think that's because they just get really sick with turny things? You know, because like, I would have just said that. I would have just been like, I don't like turny things. But I would have gotten sick, literally would have puked after every stopping point. But So yeah, I'm very anxious. The finale's coming up and then the reunions after that. I hear that the reunion gets really heated. I hear that Lisa and Colton really get into it, that Colton leaves the set and he doesn't come back until they like make them promise that they're not going to talk about like his past like crimes of stalking with Cassie, his former girlfriend and stuff like that. I don't know exactly how much of that is that specific, but I know they get into it, and apparently Rob and Candace get into it pretty good. Andy is going to be the host, and he's obviously always the best host on any reunion. So I'm really anxious for the reunion show to watch that. But really, I honestly forget how, I mean, I know they explained it and they'll like explain it again, but I forget how exactly the finale works. And if, like, because in my head, I'm kind of thinking, well, aren't the traitors, because there's two traitors, so they're not going to get rid of both traitors on this finale, will they? Like, will they have an opportunity to do that? But isn't there a really, really good likelihood now, since both Eric and Rob are left, that the traitors are going to win? But I forget kind of how this works, so I'm anxious to watch it. I'm hoping, maybe, I'm kind of thinking, because one of Tyler's friends has like watched this last episode with us, and he is really into it too. So I'm kind of thinking it would be fun if both Tyler and Brendan and I podcast together about the finale. I think that would be kind of fun. So I may do that next week, or it might even be the week after that, because I have a really, really, really busy week next week. But well, and plus the Traitors isn't on until Thursday. I don't know how that's going to pan out. It's very possible. Well, I'll talk about that at the end. But okay, so that's Traitors. I need to get going here because I'm getting over an hour, I think. But so yeah, I'm really anxious to see the finale. I'm really anxious to see how this plays out. It's just, this is such a good season. I've really enjoyed the season. I really think this is my favorite so far, and I really, really hope that Rob wins. Okay, Love is Blind. So they had the first 6 episodes drop 2 weeks ago, and then they had 3 episodes drop this past Wednesday. So we got through the pods, and we got through Mexico, which is where they went for their honeymoon, and we got into now living together. So I'm going to go, I think, couple by couple, just kind of briefly here, and just give my thoughts on the couples. And I'm so bad at putting, and you know me with names anyway, I can picture them in my head, but I get really confused when I'm talking about it. So I'm going to go couple by couple and sort of what I think about each couple. So first I'm going to say, okay, so we have Emma and Mike. So Emma and Mike Emma is the one who it was adopted and has like the scarred arm because she has so many, had so many birthmarks on them. And she had, like, what did she say? Like 10 surgeries before age 8 to get rid of all the birthmarks. I love them. His family is Italian. I'll just back up and say that. So I think that the pods was fine. I always think they kind of have the pods a little bit too long. I'd rather see once they're couples and they're working the shit out, So I'm not really going to go over the pods, except real quickly, that the little love triangle between Kevin and Tyler being a woman, and Kia. It wasn't Kia, but I'm just going to call her Kia because I can't remember her name. But like, he could not decide. He could not freaking decide between the two. He drove me nuts listening to him. And I was like, oh my God, will you just make a freaking decision? He actually was on Nick Vile's podcast, and it sounded like on that interview that he definitely would have picked Tyler had he had the chance. But that kind of triangle kind of made you nuts. But now the past 3 episodes ended where they're now at that social where they're all living in apartments together, but they always have the like big social, everybody comes back, like even the people that didn't make it to Mexico, so like Kevin's there and Tyler's there and this Kia girl, again, not they're all there. And so I really feel like drama's going to go down on the next episode, because drama started really going down on this last episode at that social. But yeah, so also if you haven't watched it, there's spoilers here, so don't, like, if you don't want to hear spoilers, and don't listen. Um so anyway, Emma and Mike, I feel like they got pretty like drama free through Mexico. But anyway, they're the ones that she just met his parents, and he met her parents. They all have met. His parents and family is Italian. They kind of drilled her a little bit. They're a little bit hard on her, but their big issue is kids, and will we have kids or not. And they talked about this in length really with both family meetups, and she doesn't know if he definitely wants kids and has made that known, like he wants kids, and she is on the fence. And it was kind of interesting because when they met when he met their sorry, he met her family. So again, she's adopted, but she's the only one adopted in their family. She has two sisters, but they're natural sisters. I mean, they were natural children to her parents. And um it sounded like on the show, when they were talking about kids or no kids and that whole issue, that she said her main reason for not knowing if she wants kids is because of her birthmark. So she knows nothing about her birth parents. So she has no medical history on herself. She knows nothing about like what she could pass on to her kids. And so her birthmark thing, she admitted, and apparently for the first time, because her parents like genuinely seemed surprised to hear her say this, because they asked her and she said 100%. And the dad was like, oh, really? But she, because of her birthmarks and all the surgeries she had to have, and like, because her arm is really birthmark, I mean, it's really scarred pretty bad. And so I guess she went through kind of, I mean, I guess she had just a good life and everything, but she was always very self-conscious of that. And her passing that on to her child is a big, big issue in her not knowing if she wants to have kids. And apparently her family didn't really know that. So that's their issue. I'm really, I really think, I think they look like they're a great couple. She is beautiful. I just think they're cute, a cute couple. They really get along well otherwise. But I think that when it comes down to it, they're not going to get married because of this kid thing. I mean, she says she's on the fence, but like, as his mom pointed out, what if you're 6 months into marriage and all of a sudden you decide, oh, actually don't want kids? Then you're married, and then, so I see them not getting married because it's just too quick and she can't commit to whether she wants kids or not. The next one is Christine and Vic. I think they are an obvious going to get married. They've had literally zero drama. They were the one couple, the production admitted that, so they had 7 successful couples that they are following. Now, I've always heard that there are some couples that are successful, but they're so successful and drama free, they don't even allow them to continue the show. Christine and Vic, though, for whatever reason, because I guess usually there's only 5 or 6 couples that go on to the honeymoon portion of this, but Christine and Vic, I mean, they didn't have any drama in pods. They were the first to get engaged. They seemed totally committed. They're a mixed couple, so that's really their only drama, and that's not drama, but like they have even like, that's really only their main issue, is talking about like, like, we're going to have mixed children and I want my children to, know about both of their heritages and stuff like that. And how are we going to proceed with that? And like, what are we going to do? And she's the white one in the mixed couple. He's black. And she is like, the only thing is that like, I'm going to feel like I have absolutely no connection to that heritage. So therefore I'm going to feel like I'm maybe not fully connected to my kids because I don't share that kind of thing. So they make that seem like that might be the one hang up, but I feel like they have to come up with some hang up with the two of them. But what I was going to say is they did not go to Mexico for the honeymoon. And they didn't say it on the show, but if you Google it, production did not have the budget to send 7 couples to Mexico. So because they were like a drama-free couple, they just sent them to like Malibu, California for their honeymoon portion. And they didn't even send a crew with them. They were simply doing like their own video and sending that video in for us to see. And I mean, they checked in with them like 2 or 3 times, and it was like a maybe a 30-second video of like, oh yeah, we're gonna go surfing today, and last night was great, and tomorrow we're gonna do, I mean, it's like very not a big deal. So, and they're showing them the least with them living together and all that. They have both met each other's parents, and they've both, or no, I don't know that I don't think we've seen her meet his parents yet, but he met her mom. They both had kind of tough childhoods, like with no father. So they've talked about that a little bit, but that actually kind of made them bond. So anyway, they're drama free. They're the cutest couple ever. I love them both. He seems like such a sweetheart and so level headed, and she same. So anyway, I think they'll get married, and that's going to be the couple that lasts. Then we have Amber and Jordan. I also think that they are going to get married. They are also the cutest couple. He is, again, finally, like, they have this non-typical like buff guy that is on the show. And I think he's like, a nice looking guy, but he's got like a little bit of a belly, but he seems like the sweetest, nicest guy. She has a kid who is, I think, 7, a daughter. And they have also been mainly drama free. Totally think they're going to, like, again, the only thing that could be a hindrance is maybe him not being ready to be a dad. But like on the last season, and I don't remember names again about this, but that was like the hang up, obviously, too. It was the guy, was his name Jordan actually, too? Maybe on the last season, that he had a son. And I think in the end, she actually didn't know if she was ready to be a mom. I can't remember who that was. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But that they focused on that a lot more. They have not focused on that between these two like at all. Like him being like, I don't know if I'm ready to be a dad yet. And so he's met the dad of the daughter, but he hasn't met the daughter yet. But they are the cutest. I love them both so much. I love her personality, and he is just the sweetest. And even though he's got a gut, like, he jokes about it and stuff and is completely aware, and I don't think it bothers her in the least, and they're super cute. So I think that they will make it. Then we have Bree and Connor. They seem like a cute couple too. She goes by Breezy. She was the one who, she had like a thing with Connor and a thing with this guy, Chris, that is in the pods. Chris and Jessica are another couple that I'll get to, but I guess I'll kind of cover them together because, like, she was really down to the wire between Connor and Chris. But gosh, see, already I don't remember. I think Chris ended up going with Jessica, and so Connor was kind of her second option. I might be totally wrong. Let's see. Maybe not. I guess not. Maybe she was the one that picked Connor and not Chris, and Chris went with Jessica. That might have been how it was. But either way, she had this weird thing that in Mexico, when they had their first social, that she would not get off that. Like, she kept talking. When I say she knock it off, she kept talking and talking about how she couldn't believe that, like, they all had other connections and how none of them talked about these other connections while they were at this social, and how they just like went on as if like they never talked to these other men or women in the pods. And like, she wouldn't shut up about it. And everybody she talked to, she'd say, I just can't believe, I think it's so surface level how we're all just like, oh, let's have shots, and like not like make claim to the fact that we actually had connections with these other people and blah blah blah. She even went to Connor about it when they got home. And if I was Connor, I would, because I think really what it turned out to be is that she wanted to talk to Chris and be like, hey, I feel like almost she wanted him to be like, hey, I really, like you and I think you're gorgeous and blah, 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 blah. And like, I feel like I know you so well. And she wanted that like attention, I feel like. And so because she didn't get that attention, she like was pissed off about it and she was taking it out in that way. I don't know. But anyway, so like also Connor, I think they've met both of their families too, but like when she met Connor's family, he has two sisters and I really enjoyed his family, but his where he lives is like total bachelor pad. Like he even had a keg there and this whole gaming system set up and stuff like that. And so they really joked about that a lot. But see, he seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders and is fine. But at this social that we're ending on, so back, like kind of back up a little bit, Chris and Jessica have broken up and Chris is really being made to like, and I'm going with it because I have to go by what I see. And in the edit, they're really making him seem like an absolute dick. But he essentially told Jessica that he normally doesn't go for someone that doesn't like to work out. Like she made it very clear and known in the pods that she hates to work out and she doesn't work out. And he obviously does every day. And like she almost like makes fun of it. And she's like, you won't see me in Pilates or whatever. And she's not like heavy at all. Like she is the cutest little thing. And like he has kind of said that on occasion to other people, like about how it's not the type he usually goes for, meaning I guess that she doesn't have this slam and skitty buff body, but she's not the opposite of that either. But anyway, so he tells her that she comes home from work and they sit down and talk and she's like, are there any issues that like you're having at all? Just like, let's communicate. And he brings that up again. And enough so that you can tell it's really bothering him. So she's like, is it really bother you that much kind of thing? And she gets offended by it, and likely so. And it's the way he words it. I mean, he does word it kind of like a dick, like basically her body isn't good enough, is how it comes across. And he's like, well, I didn't say I wanted to break up. And she's like, I'm done. Basically, they had this conversation. And again, I'm paraphrasing, it was much longer than this, but it made her upset enough that she said she's done basically. And she's not like, if she now has that doubt in her head that he is even attracted to her, and that she's not enough physically. So she goes to the social. So, but both Jessica and Chris still show up at this social. And the girls all see, including Bree, all seem like they go to her and they're like, what a dick. And they're like making fun of like, oh my God, have you been working out? You look amazing. Your body's amazing. It was pretty funny because I thought it was like they were completely dissing him. And when Chris comes, he is being a complete ass, self-absorbed guy. And he's like, if he hasn't said once, he has said like 100 times, I don't give a flying fuck. He uses that terminology. He is literally says it all the time. And he's like, oh my God, those girls hate me. It's so funny. Cause I guess they're obviously saying it loud enough that Chris can hear. And he's like, oh my God, those girls hate me. He says this to another guy. I don't give a flying fuck. But then like time passes and then 3 of the girls are talking to him. And it feels like they're kind of like he's trying to say, look, I was just being honest with her. I wasn't the one that left and she was the one that left. And I was just trying to have a conversation. She told me and I just was honest. And like, I get that. But you have to be girl's girl and be like, side with your friend. And honestly, she shouldn't want him if he is going to have that attitude anyway. And not necessarily, I guess, be mad about it. Cause I guess if he was being honest, she needs to know that before they get married. Like there's always that side of it. And I totally get that. But like the way he's handling it just makes you hate him because he just acts like, I don't give a flying fuck, like blah, blah, blah. Well, we also find out that he is really into Bree. And Bree and Connor both got texts from Jessica and Chris. Like Chris texted Connor, Jessica texted Bree saying me and Chris broke up. At that time, Chris immediately slides into Bree's DM and was like, oh yeah, kind of thing. And so at this social, um, so Bree was one of these three girls that was talking to him. So after a little while, two of the other girls leave. They seem the most unconvinced by him, but they still are kind of like, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Blah, 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 whatever. So they leave. So then it's he and Bree talking, and he is, again, paraphrasing, don't remember exact conversation, but he is basically telling her that he's into her, that Connor is so like, she deserves way more motivated guy, a guy that's going to challenge her, a guy that's going to call her out on her shit, a guy that's going to like be more edgy. Obviously meaning him. And like, I know it's in the editing too, maybe, but it seems like she's going, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, why are you saying that? Why are you act like you're totally into Connor. You just met his family and like, So it's like she's like falling into it, but yet when you go back to the initial social in Mexico, it's like what she wanted initially from Chris, like to act interested in her. He's also very drunk, obviously, at this social thing, and maybe she is too, but like he is like coming at her hard, being very obvious that he thinks he'd be the better match with her than Connor. And Connor and Jessica are like off to the side with other people. They always show like clips of them like looking back, like at them talking. And you never know if that's like in the edit too and stuff, but they're definitely talking. He's definitely going at her hard. And it very much seems like she's totally like agreeing with him that maybe she deserves more. And then that's the cliffhanger. So that's how that ends. So that's them. Let's see. We got Brittany and Devont Devo is what they call him. They're still together too. They're very cute. Brittany, they've met each other's families. I'm starting to get tired talking about this. Let's see. I guess he their really only issue is that he hadn't been physically showing her the attention that she wanted. And so they had a little fight about that. Chris showed interest in her in Mexico at that social, but she's got really big boobs. So everyone thinks that that's only what he was interested in. No, that wasn't Chris. Sorry. That was the other guy. However, they've been going pretty strong since then. I won't go into them much more because I feel like they seem like they're on, but I don't know. They seem pretty good, but I don't know that they're going to last or not. They talk about how each other aren't typically their type that they go for too. So I'm a little bit unsure. But like their big thing is that he wasn't physically showing as much to her, and that's her love language is like physical touch. So he like tried to promise to show that more to her, and she tried to like promise to like not take out her past insecurities on him. And so I'm not sure. They're big. I don't know. Okay. Can I leave it like that? Then we have Ashley and Alex. I can't stand Alex. I think he is the most conceited, self-absorbed, like has major insecurities, but likes to act like he's cocky. He's this soccer player who soccer was his life, but then he had like 4 knee surgeries and then couldn't like play soccer anymore, and just I guess had this massive struggle with that in his life mentally, and had to try to like get off that. She like they really clicked in the pods. They're both very attractive people. So then when they had their initial reveal, they were impressed. However, Alex has verbally talked about several times about how she's not his normal type because she's blonde and has light features, and he usually goes for the opposite. He usually goes for like dark haired brunettes and dark features. And so that's kind of been his thing and been like their thing. However, he also like won't shut up about anything, and he talks and talks and talks and talks and goes off on these tangents about so many things all the time. It's like he thinks the more he talks, the more he'll talk his way out of whatever may be the issue at the moment that he's dealing with. When they met her family, like I couldn't decide who annoyed me more, her dad or him, because like again, at least in the edit, her dad came hard on him, asking him like a gajillion questions, and like he would try to come up with kind of like a snappy response that, like, I feel like he could tell that her dad was also being a bit like he also came off as a bit like condescending and an asshole and cocky himself. So it was almost in a way fun to watch their banter back and forth, but you couldn't decide who to root for and who to hate because you kind of hated them both, really. But like like Alex would try to come back with a response that he didn't think the dad would be able to come back at, but the dad would, and then he would do the same back to him, and it was like went back and forth and back and forth. Like the mom hardly said anything, nor did her brother, and so it was really just like all about the two of them, which was interesting. But like I said, it was like you couldn't decide who you couldn't stand more, the dad or Alex. But like he makes this like he tries to make everything be like, look, I made it known to you that this and this and this and this, I told you that this and this and this and this, so and then she'll say something in return to him, and he'll go like, I know, but like I told you this and this and this. So then you can see her kind of shut down, and he'll like do this like now I feel like you're shutting down, now I feel like your eyes are saying one thing even though you're saying okay. And like, I want to be like, yeah, because you're being a fucking smartass about the whole thing and not letting me talk and not listening to me and laughing at me back. I cannot stand him. And I do not think that they're going to make it, because they had this conversation about, he makes this big deal about how he lives this nomad life, and he's lived here and he's lived here and he's lived there. And part of it's because his mom is a truck driver. They met his mom, and she's like seems cool, but she like lives this nomadic life, and she's like, that's just how he is. And they both act like they either want to live in Phoenix or Florida, and how he got this soccer coaching opportunity in Florida, and that she said that she'd be willing to move, and she's like, yeah, but like I need to talk to my boss about this. And he's like, well, yeah, but like you keep saying that, but like since we've been living here in Columbus, like since they've been together living in the apartments, I've already had this opportunity come up, and like you keep saying you're going to, but you haven't yet. Like kind of like really passive aggressive statements. And she's like, I just told you I have a meeting with my boss tomorrow, and that's when I'm going to find out. And he's like, well, okay, but like I can't wait forever, kind of thing. And just being real asshole about it. And she's like, okay, like but I can't tell you anymore. And like what he's implying is that like then maybe just find a different job. And she's like, okay, like I get it, but can I at least talk to my boss tomorrow, because I really like this company I work with, and if I can, I'd like to stay with this company. Like, is that okay? He's like, yeah, that's fine, okay, well, you didn't act like it was fine 2 seconds ago. Anyway, it was just like, I was getting so annoyed by the conversation, and you could tell like what she was feeling. I was feeling too, but she was being so patient listening to him. They ended up like working it out or whatever, but I don't know. Like if I would be experiencing those conversations with him now, I'd definitely be saying no at the altar. But I also feel like he deep inside knows that like this isn't his type. So I think they're not going to make it. Then that was Jessica and Chris. I've already talked about them. And then it was Kia. That is her name. Just went through his. Okay. So, all right. Thank you. Thank you guys for listening. This is longer than I anticipated, but I haven't been here in 2 weeks. So now what I was going to say earlier is that I don't know if I'm going to be here next week either, because I literally know I have something Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday night. Actually, Tuesday is my birthday. I'm going to be 55, which I'm not excited about, but yet who gives a shit, right? Better than the alternative, like everyone says. So I am going to be, so Monday night, Tuesday night, and Wednesday night, I have something, will not be able to record any of those nights. Thursday nights is Traitors, so I may as well watch the finale. And then next weekend, we are going to be out of town at little baby Stevie's shower, which is to remind you, my first grandbaby that I cannot wait for, who is due April 16th. But we have her shower, so we're going to be with them all weekend. So realistically, we'll have to do a recording next week that will probably be about trailers and the finale. I'm assuming the reunion is like that next week then, but I haven't heard for sure if they're waiting to release it right away or not. I would assume so. But anyway, so don't look for an episode next week because I'm like 99% sure I will not have time to record next week. Probably will be the next week after that. I just said that. So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. Please pass on to your friends and family and anyone else who might like to just hear about life in general and, hear about relatable issues as well as reality TV. Subscribe, hit follow, go follow my TikTok, go listen to me on any podcast platform that you subscribe to or listen to podcasts on. I'm on. But I love you all. And until next time, be calm, be strong, be kind, and be grateful. Bye.